Hello, so today we're going to be going over patch 13.5. This is the upcoming patch for TFT that's going to be coming out this Wednesday. So this is going to be looking at the patch notes, giving my takes and my opinions, as well as predictions based on what I'm seeing in these slides. Already here we see that these are subject to change, so I might have to do a little bit of an update for the final patch note that will come out on, I believe it's Wednesday or Thursday. I'm not sure which day is the patch day in particular, but as you can see, I'm reacting to a YouTube video. This is Mortdog's YouTube channel. Please do as I did and make sure to subscribe as well as like Mortdog's content, because I'm going to be taking my opinion. Obviously, he has the slides that he made, and as a TFT dev, he has his own takes and explanations for everything. So if you want to see those takes, make sure to check out the original video. Additionally, please make sure to like and subscribe. And also, I wanted to just point out that I have my art store that's now open, my shop.fenrir's.art. So if you would like to get some art, I have the nice Jinx and Caitlyn arcane themed UKOA picture that I drew. I'm going to be updating this art store with some new art every couple months. I used to be an art streamer and I used to do primarily art, so I finally got that up and flowing. I'm going to start doing that a little bit more. Now, before we start this presentation, I always want to say, what do I want the most out of these slides? I want to see the main thing. I've been complaining about it forever. I've been complaining about it last patch as well as this patch, and I'm going to ask for the same thing because you can't ask for too much. Encounters have to change. I think the odds of them are really bad. I think Warwick being 8% is miserable. If I don't see Warwick changed, I gave it 2 more weeks. I've been playing some TFT. I dialed down the knob a lot. I play a lot less TFT on stream. You can see me that I play Pokemon now. If they don't change Warwick odds, I'm going to play Street Fighter, and we're just not going to play much more TFT this set. That's just how it is for me. It's very frustrating. It's very miserable. So let's see. It should be on the first slide if it's here. System changes. Encounters! Okay, please, come on. Yes! Okay. Oh my god. Wait, we're actually so back. Wait, Caitlyn's up. Wait, okay. Let's calm down. Let's be professional here. Fuck yes. Oh my god. Okay. This is something that needed to be changed. I don't care if anybody here thinks this isn't a good change. You're wrong. So, holy shit. Yes. Okay, it's Jinx down. Okay, Jinx isn't down though. That's fine. Okay, let's go through this. So, encounters, these are the odds of the encounters appearing at the beginning. This is what I've been asking for pretty much like a month and a half now. This is the biggest problem with the game for me right now. I think everything in the game, like I say this many times, this is one of the most balanced sets ever of TFT. This is one of the best done sets of TFT, but I hate playing it. It's one of the most miserable experiences of my life grinding this set because of how bad the encounters are. And a big part of it is because they added a bunch of crap encounters, and they put the odds way too high. So these are the odds of each of the encounters happening. Caitlyn Gold Sub, I think, is one of the better ones that doesn't appear that often. They're upping that from 4 to 8%. I think that's a good change. Heimerdinger Prismatic first is better to up the average of. The one that is really RNG that's bad is Prismatic Ender. So I think that's a good change. Hopefully they balance some of the Prismatics as well. Mel Encounter is really RNG. It's very miserable to play a lot of the time, so I generally don't enjoy playing it. Decreasing that from 8 to 4 is huge because on average most of the common occurrences are around 10%, so Mel was appearing way too often for my take. Powder, Wind Up Monkey, I think that's one of the more fun ones. I think you can play around a lot of the different options because there's only 4 of them, so it's easy to plan out around those. So I think Wind Up Monkey is great. Upping that to 8% is really cool. That's like an example of a fun portal that I don't think is severely like RNG and skews the game too much. Savika Loot Sub, I don't like the change of it, but you know, I'll take Loot Sub over Warwick any day. And finally, they're decreasing the odds of Warwick. Warwick is the most miserable experience of my life. I think it should be removed from the game. If you don't agree with me, I don't care, because I think it's common knowledge that this one is very RNG, because it's very skewed depending on if you have an early opener that allows you to capitalize on extra econ that you get from winning rounds and killing units in Warwick's Hunger. I think it's the worst encounter in the game by far. It is the most RNG encounter in the game by far, and it is miserable. You just gotta hope that you high roll or you just fall behind very fast. Decreasing from 8 to 3, that means it's the lowest appearing one, I believe, because 3% is the lowest. I think Jace is 4, Mel is now 4, so it's the lowest average, it's the lowest appearing encounter, and that's fine, right? So if you're a fan of Warwick's Hunger, I'm sorry, sucks to suck, but I think that's really healthy for the game. I think that's really good. I think in general this is a good step in the right direction. I personally, I don't like Loot Sub or Scuttle Puddle at either. I would like Scuttle Puddle to be a lot less, and Loot Sub maybe is a little bit less. I would have kept Loot Sub at 4. But of course, you can't appease to everybody. I said it many times. If they fix Warwick, I'll stop complaining about encounters, because you can only complain about one thing at a time, right? You know, I channeled all my energy, all my hatred into Warwick, and it's finally fixed, and I'm so happy. Augments. This is, they didn't fix the one that they did last time where, if you require more units, they appear later and whatever. So that's just a fix from last patch that they're just bug fixing it. So that's fine. All right, let's continue now. Oh my god, thank god. Oh, I think I'm gonna cry. Actually, my eyes are watering. I'm just so happy. Because Warwick has been so miserable. Like if you guys don't know, if you guys want to watch on stream, like my LP is really fucked up. Because, I ranked up really fast. And then, I can't get out of my MMR. And I keep finding myself into unwinnable situations with like Warwick and some of these encounters. And it just makes it so miserable for me. And that's just gonna help me out so much. It gives me so much more motivation. I can actually climb, I think, now. I can actually, like, put an effort in the game again. Dominator. So now we're going to go through some large trades. Now we're actually going to talk about the balancing. Oh, thank God. This patch is already one of the best patches I've ever seen. Holy shit. I can't believe they actually did it. Oh my God. I thought I was going to have to listen to a bunch of people constantly telling me that, no, Warwick's is fine. Like, finally, somebody agreed and got rid of that trash. Okay. Dominator. HP shield. Increased on 4 and 6. It doesn't seem like that big of an increase. Right now, Dominator just takes too much time. So a lot of like the problem right now is that the meta, a lot of the comps that are good are either really heavy burst or overtuned. So a lot of the comps that you think are really good, like let's say Sorks, for example, Enforcers, even Scrap to a certain extent, Ambushers. These are all like comps where the fight doesn't last very long. It just bursts out of nowhere, right? That's why a lot of comps like Dominator is not that good. Heimer feels really bad. Silco feels really bad. It's like all these comps that take time to ramp up their damage. It kind of falls apart really fast. And then the only other option, if you're trying to build like a comp that ramps up a lot, you're typically going for like either Zeri or Tristana or what's the other one? Renata, right? Reroll comps that are really strong. So like if they want to balance the game out to make it a little bit less fast paced, they can kind of go more into the reroll route, because typically you get a lot of bulk with those reroll comps. Or you want to make some of the like high burst damage a little bit lower burst damage. So I don't know if Dominator is really going to change much of that. Enforcer, they're giving more HP shield, but they're decreasing the damage amp very slightly on 8. I don't think Enforcer really is getting touched at all. That doesn't really change anything. Emissary, 4-piece HP bonus. So these are like the Emissary units themselves gain HP and damage amp. It's making them a little bit tankier. I think that's really substantial, especially on Garen. Right now, Emissary is just really hard to play because it's hard to stabilize around like the rerolls and the burst heavy comps to play like a 4 Emissary board. Even something like Emissary Sorks, that's one of the strongest boards in the game right now, and it's often very bait to play that, and often people will just play other Sork boards instead. So I'm not sure exactly how strong Emissary Sorks is. Also, I realize I don't have my inking app. I'm gonna reset it 1 second. But so I don't think this is going to change too much, but if they do buffs to the specific Emissary units as well, you might start to see like the 4 Emissary line, or like win streak into 4 Emissary, lose streak into 4 Emissary become a little bit more relevant as per this newest patch. Now let's see the next one. So Experiment. Clone HP from 50% to 40%, so that's making it like Experiment Emblem a little bit worse. Experiment's kind of weird right now. I think the Twitch nerf really hit Twitch hard, and it makes the comp a little bit hard to play in my opinion. So a lot of times, like, I try not to play around Twitch if possible. So I'm not sure exactly whether or not Twitch is going to be super relevant with this, but we'll see if it makes a difference. Pit Fighter. Okay, hopefully the inking now works. Let's see. So Pit Fighter. Oh, wonderful, it's working. Okay, so Pit Fighter, a little bit more heal on the 6-piece, and then the true damage increase 2% on the 2-piece. I don't think it's that big of a deal, but I think it's just more for consistency. This Pit Fighter comp does have some win conditions a lot of times. Often this is really good with artifacts, I find, right? There's a lot of good artifacts that Vi works with, so if you get 6 Pit Fighter Vi and you play around the artifacts, it's really strong. The problem is, it's just like a lot of times it's not worth it to play Pit Fighter, because instead you can play something like Enforcer that's just a little bit more value. I don't think it's gonna make 6 Pit Fighter a really broken comp by any means, but it might just make it like a little bit less low roll, especially if you have to play it like in Bessa Galaxy or branching out into Pit Fighter. You know, sometimes you find yourself in a spot where you're forced to play around Pit Fighter. because of your spot. So this might make it a little bit more consistent. I don't think it's going to be meta strong. Rebel, HP increase to 15%. That's actually pretty substantial. A lot of times with Rebel, you're relying on Alawi to be like your main tank. So giving her the extra HP increase is pretty massive. This is also base HP increase, so it's actually going to be a huge spike to 3 Rebel. Because I don't think this is the 5-piece HP increase. This is base HP percent increase. So this is actually pretty substantial because this helps you a lot with 3 Rebel. It's very easy to fit in 3 Rebel and make use of this HP because you have Irelia and you have Alawi. So, you know, if you're ever playing around Sentinels, you just get a free HP bonus now. I'm not sure how substantial it's going to be later. Like into deep Rebel traits, but we'll see if they update any of the Rebel units to fix that a little bit. Visionary, they're decreasing the mana gen on 6Ps. This is a good change. I think 6 Visionary, especially with Renata reroll, is very overbearing. But we'll see if they adjust any of the units in particular. Judging by the timestamps here, it doesn't look like a very long patch. But like I said, I'm already happy. This is already one of the best patches this set because they actually addressed an issue that was really big. Chem Baron. So now they're removing 7 Chem Baron. That's pretty substantial. And then let's see what the changes are here. So 7 is removed. 3 no change, 4 a little bit of a change, and then these ones look like they're decreasing the amount of HP. This kind of makes us feel like Chem Baron is very bad right now. I'm not sure if they're removing 7 Chem Baron, they might also be removing the emblem. We'll see if that happens after. Double Up has a different thing. I don't really care too much about Double Up. And then they're making Perfected Hex Tech a little bit better. Unleashed Toxin no longer stuns. This is a huge thing. This had like a lot of win conditions. Like this was like Kog'Maw, put it on, you win for free. This shit was very annoying. I've lost a lot of games to somebody just high rolling into this shit, and it's the most miserable experience of my life. And then Perfected Virulent Virus is also really annoying. So this deals with, like, I feel like this is too many nerfs though. They are upping the 6-piece amount of shimmer that you're getting, and this is going from 5 to 50. I feel like right now, I think this really hurts Chem Baron. Chem Baron was already kind of bad recently because it's just hard to stabilize around, especially without an emblem. If you're removing the emblem and you're not making it so you can hit it really early, I don't think these buffs really warrant it to be played. I would probably avoid Chem Baron almost always now. Before, I still played a little bit on the last patch, even though it was kind of hard to stabilize. There was a lot of comps that can win out, just despite Chem Baron being as strong as it was. But this seems like a hard nerf in general, right? The 7 and the HP was like huge ways to spike your board to like guaranteed win conditions. Now it feels like I'm not even sure if a 500 cash out will be enough with how little HP you have, because you're gonna need to have, like, you know, Silco 2 upgraded units. So like your spot has to be really good for Chem Baron is what I'm trying to say. I wouldn't necessarily, so I think these are pretty substantial nerfs, but I think that's fine. Maybe it's just like the state of Chem Baron wasn't super healthy for the game. I don't really care either way. I wasn't playing it that much anyways unless I had a good spot, so I wouldn't play it, like, I wouldn't force towards it if anything. That seems fine. Conqueror, this is 9 Conqueror and 9 Scrap. Just getting adjusted. These are like with double or triple emblems, right? So I don't really care too much about this. I think that's fine. That's like for your high roll situations, you know, make 9-piece a little bit better, right? 9 Conqueror, the thing about it was that you needed 3 emblems, but if you didn't hit it early enough, you don't get the giga cash outs, and then you lose anyways. So it felt really bad. So I can understand them buffing it. Don't worry, these aren't gonna actually like affect much of your board. It's more so just like, you know, it is what it is. Like those are the high roll games, whatever. Like if somebody has 3 Conqueror emblems and they don't win the game, like, are you really sitting there happy? It's like at that point it's not balanced well. Anyways, champs 1 cost. So Draven, increasing Axe AD. This is actually pretty big because of the pit fighter changes. Draven could be a good stabilization point to play around, like, you know, Violet reroll, which plays into pit fighters really well. So I didn't really talk about pit fighters in terms of Violet reroll, but buffing Draven as well makes it so that you probably can play like the old Violet reroll line a lot more consistently. It was already pretty relevant last patch because of the Vander buffs and family in general. But now it's probably gonna be a little bit more consistent with Vander getting a little bit of a tweak there. Urgot 3, some nerfs. It doesn't look like that big of a nerf, but it is like around like a little bit, like around 10% ish, like a little bit under 10% change. Here it's like around like Yeah, like a little bit under 10% change in damage. I think Urgot will still be strong as a reroll option. You just might be a little bit more reliant on having good Tristana items as well, just to stabilize, to make up for the fact that you lost a little bit of damage. But I don't think Urgot's going to be unplayable. Steb decreasing is low. I mean, Steb was pretty stable as a 1 cost. I don't really think he needs that much of a nerf, but there are small nerfs. These seem like small adjustments, and then just 4 cost is getting increased a little bit. I don't think this is super substantial. I don't think it's going to be like, ew, I can't play Steb anymore. I think it's just going to be like, whatever. This is an interesting change, though. Also, this is all of the 1, 2, and 3 costs. This is actually a very small patch in general. But here, what is this? This is like a 5% increase. This is a pretty substantial change. The miasma damage. That looks pretty big, right? That's like over 30%. That's like around 10% or more, right? It's over 10%. It's like 20% buff. This might make Cassiopeia 3 pretty rerollable. We don't know. I don't know for sure yet because it's hard to tell. Miasma damage is like after she does her cast, she makes like a little circle thing and it does like extra damage. So like the base damage and with the miasma is pretty massive. This is pretty good. This is a pretty good change. So you might see like, you know, the problem with Dominator is that they're not good reroll options because like, you know, you can reroll Cassiopeia and Blitzcrank, but then Blitzcrank isn't the best tank. So often it doesn't work really well. So without Blitzcrank changes, I don't think it's going to be super reliable. But this might be like a good stabilization to make Dominators a little bit more reliable. One of the problems with Dominators is that it's quite strong if you can get to Mordekaiser. You can play like, you know, 4 or 6 Dominator with a Mordekaiser too. But it's really hard to stabilize because the comp takes too much time to ramp up. If you have a secondary damage dealer in the form of this Cassiopeia, even 2-star Cassiopeia is a lot better. It gives you like an out that can give you like a secondary carry instead of having to rely primarily on Silco and then hoping to God that you hit a Mordekaiser. So I don't know if it's going to be like a strict Cassiopeia reroll line that's going to come out of this, but it might just make Dominators a little bit better, which it's kind of struggling right now. But we'll see if they adjust Dominator units like 4 costs in general. 4 cost changes now. Alright, so I see a lot of units here. Let's go through it as much as we can. So we have, let's see, Mbessa. Now, Mbessa is getting a 3 AD buff, base AD, and then all of her 3 stars are getting buffed. These 3 stars don't really matter, but this base AD change is pretty good. A lot of times I bring up this reference. I say it almost every time I see AD changes, just because I think new players might want to know about it. But like, there was a unit that was shit in one of the sets. It was Zaya. She was trash. But then they buffed her AD by 5, and she went from being the worst 5 cost in the game to being the most contested best 5 cost in the game. So whenever I see these AD changes, these are base AD. Understand they are significant even though the number is small, right? They are significant even though this is a small number. So I don't really like Mbessa getting buffed because she's an emissary unit. So I feel like everybody tries to play around Mbessa. I don't think you should ever structure your game plan around saying, oh, I'll play around Mbessa as a carry, because everybody wants to hold on to an Mbessa, right? If you have an extra spawn on your board, Mbessa just gives your whole board more armor than Sentinel. You know what I mean? She just gives 14 armor to your whole board. So she's a really good +1 unit. So I'm always scared when I see buffs to units that are good as +1s, because then it makes them hotly contested, and then the game kind of turns into like who has an Mbessa and who doesn't. I don't think it's that much of a buff to be that level of that degree of caution, but just be warned. But with this buff as well as the emissary buffs, playing around Mbessa carry emissary might be more relevant in the next patch. Emissary is just a very expensive board, so it's going to be very situational. But with stuff like gold sub increasing with like Caitlyn encounter, stuff like that, you might have a little bit more options to play around like 4 emissary, like how you used to, like 4 emissary, Corki, Vi, Mbessa, Quick Striker, or something like that. Echo is probably one of the best units in the game, just because of how good Scrap was and how versatile Echo was in terms of like items and just damage output. So this is really warranted, I would say. It doesn't look that substantial to me. It's like 10, it's like less than 10%, like a 5% ish change, 5% less damage. So I think this is just to make it a little bit less consistent, but I still think Echo is going to be fine. I don't think these hurt Echo in such a way that it's unplayable. It's just really bad when you have when you're stuck on a 1-star Echo, right? Having these decreases in damage, especially if you're playing Scrap. A lot of times Scrap, the damage is the sum of its parts. So if you cut one of the parts a little bit, it makes you a little bit more reliant on having good items, so your spots be a little bit better. Heimer, Increased missile damage is massive because he fires more missiles over time. So if you get yourself into a spot where Heimer can scale, this actually might be a really substantial increase in damage. So I'm not sure if this makes it that Heimer is like quote unquote back, because it still relies on like what other people are playing. If more people are playing like slow comps where they're not doing a lot of damage right away, it's not like a burst damage style comp, then Heimer could easily scale up well, and this will be a substantial change, because as much as Heimer scales, you get this extra missile damage basically. Now it's not a big substantial increase in missile damage, but it might make him a little bit more consistent. Maybe you can play around Academy Heimer if you have a good spot, a good spot for it, and you have like good items. So this is pretty good. I like this change. Just make Heimer a little bit more relevant. He's kind of been a little bit slept on in the last patch. Mundo giving more base armor. This is actually pretty big. Mundo, one of the biggest problems with him is just he's like kind of like giga HP, but he doesn't have that much resistances. So because of his kit giving so much HP, they kind of compensate by less spell heal. I think this is an overall buff. Even though there's a mixture of red and green. I think the 6 armor MR base on him is pretty big, just to make him like a more generic frontline unit. Elise mana nerf is pretty substantial as well. So the mana nerf doesn't seem like, and now they scaled up both aspects of it, which means that she just takes longer to do a second cast. So they're trying to make it so that Elise gets pretty much one cast. She's more like a one and done with the stun instead of like repeatedly casting on the back line. I think that's a good change. I just think that like I think Elise maybe should get a little bit less tankiness as well. I think Elise is like the most contested. She works with everybody. I think she's like the most contested 4 cost a lot of the times. So it's a little bit awkward. I don't know how to remedy that, but I think like, you know, this change is like awkward. It's like I like it because like Elise needs something to get nerfed, but like at the same time, it's like I don't really think that does anything. But maybe that's just me. It just makes it so she doesn't get a second cast off as easily, I think, which I think is fine. 4 cost champs, small now. So we have Garen, 3-star getting updated. That's fine. Who cares about 3-star? And this guy, 3-star. Who cares about 3-star? These were 2 of the weaker 3-stars. So yeah, whatever. That's like high roll stuff, you know. Sometimes you'd have a Twitch 3 and you'd lose a round, you know. It's unfortunate because he takes time. Here we have 5 costs. So these are probably the two of the stronger 5 costs. I would have liked to see Rumble nerfs, right? Not seeing Rumble nerfs a bit surprising. I think Rumble is the best unit in the game by far. It's not even close. But 82 to 80, that's fine, sure. Decrease the amount of damage. Empowered auto damage. I think this is fine as well. These aren't that substantial because Caitlyn did so much damage anyways that even though it's a base AD change that seems like it's pretty big, it's not that big. It's kind of big. This is big if you're playing Caitlyn as like a one-off, right? Like let's say you're playing like Twitch Caitlyn and you're playing like 2 sniper. This kind of hurts that board more, which feels like a stray bullet. But I feel like with Enforcer, if you have like a Caitlyn and you have like full damage, you're usually, I don't think it's gonna make that much of a deal because of how much damage amp you have, because this unit just goes infinite. But Elite LeBlanc is just one of the best units in the game just to play. She has so many good effects on her. I think this is good. She was one of the best 5 costs, so maybe Sorks now takes a stray bullet, but we'll see. I don't think it's that big of a nerf though. It seems like a very small percentage change to her damage output. Next, probably 6 costs, buffing Victor. I don't like this. I'm gonna be honest. I don't like Victor getting more damage. I think what this indicates to me, like when I look at this, what this means to me is that they like the state of the other 6 costs, and I don't. I think Warwick is overtuned and annoying. I think Mel is overtuned and annoying. And Victor, they kind of did this rework where now he's like nerfed, but he does more damage. Victor actually felt like the better one to like like you know, you felt less scared about seeing Victor, and that's saying a lot because this guy gave like a 2-second stun. I don't like the addition of 6 costs, me personally, so I would have liked them all to get decreased in power level, like bring them all down, but it seems like they're trying to bump up Victor to be as egregious as Warwick and Mel now, which is like, I don't like that. I think it's bad for the game. There's so many games that are just randomly decided by somebody hitting a 6 cost, and I don't think that's fun. I think it sucks. It makes me want to quit playing the game. But you know, I can't complain too much about 6 costs because I spent all my time complaining about Warwick. I got what I wanted. You know, somebody else can be the harbinger of bitching about 6 costs. You know what I mean? I got what I asked for. I bitched about Warwick. I got my first pick, you know? Now it's time for you guys to get your first picks, okay? So it's fine. It'll be fine. I'll deal with it. It'll be fine, okay? Okay, we're good. Next. Items. Okay, yeah, so Chem Baron removed, that makes sense. Sure, we'll see how that plays out. I think Chem Baron's just a lot weaker now. I think so much of the strength of Chem Baron was stacking early Chem Baron, and they didn't change 3 Chem Baron or 4 Chem Baron that much. So I feel like it's just not, I feel like it's gonna fall off really hard. And then without a Chem Baron emblem, you can't even hit like 6 or 7 Chem Baron now. The HP is much less on it. I don't know. I would avoid Chem Baron. I'm personally going to avoid it unless somebody proves me wrong and I see in my game somebody winning out with Chem Baron again. But I'm probably not going to touch Chem Baron unless I see somebody winning with it. Gold Collector, less gold per it. I think Gold Collector, this is like a stray bullet. I think there's just a lot of comps that really like Gold Collector. AD was really strong recently, so it works really well, especially on Corki and Tristana and early game units. So I don't think it's that Gold Collector itself was very strong. I think it's just that AD is really strong. So, you know, if they start nerfing some of the AD units in the future, this is going to feel really miserable. So, yeah, I guess. Mogul's Mail, giving more base HP is also good. This was one of the weaker Shimmer Scale items. So now, instead of defaulting to Gold Collector, maybe there could be a world where we take Mogul's Mail if you take, like, the one of those augments that give you a gold generation item. Will of Nationals can now be equipped on manaless champs. I think this is like just because like people get confused a lot. You should never do this anyways. So manaless champs are something like Zeri, right? Before in the past, if you put a blue buff on Zeri, it would just pop off as if you used a remover. It would just like not go on the unit. I think this is more so just like because it's like a really weird mechanic where it's like, oh, they're manaless, so they don't get the mana thing. But they're pretty much useless on those units. They just give a little bit of stats. But I can understand if you're looking for an item holder, you want to just put it on. Now you can. It doesn't really matter to me. You shouldn't be building towards that anyways if you have those items, so whatever. Okay, Blade Dance. This I don't like. I think Blade Dance is strong enough as is. I think that Blade Dance just relies a lot on high rolling into 7 Rebel. I don't think Blade Dance is weak. I think it can win lobbies. I don't think it should get all these buffs. It's not that big of a buff. It's like, but it's like around 10%. It's like a little bit less than 10% on everybody. But 3-star isn't getting that big of a buff. So this is just to make it a little bit more stable in the early game. Right? If you look at it, the 3-star is right here. It's only 5%. So it's nothing to be alarmed about. Like, you know, when I first look at it, I see a lot of green. I'm like, why is it getting buffed? But it's like, I think it's just for consistency's sake. So that's fine. Diverse portfolio, gold per traits. Before it was 1 per 3, now it's 2 per 4. So what is that? That's like 33 to like 50, so it's like a 17% increase, right? Something like that. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. 2 per 4. So if I have 4 traits active, I get 2 gold per round. This actually might make this augment was kind of awkward to play. But it might actually be really strong, especially if you're playing a board that caps very high around a lot of different traits. Because if you're getting like 4+ gold per round late game, that actually helps you convert really well into like win conditions. It might be like a take diversified portfolio and play Emissary, right? Like this might be like, oh, I take this, I play Emissary. Because as soon as you get Emissary units in, you get +1 trait all the time. You can start generating the gold, and then you can convert that after into more gold once you have your final board. This actually has good synergy with some boards, so I'm actually down. Because it was kind of one of the weaker econ augments. You see it, and a lot of times you're like, I don't want to take it. But this is silver, by the way. So if they adjust the gold, for a silver, this is actually pretty massive. I think this is going to be broken. Like, you take this early silver, play towards Emissary, full sack open, or, yeah, maybe. We'll see. Eye for an eye. Allied deaths. Yeah, this was a lot of value for a silver, so it gets a little bit nerfed. This just gave you components for killing units. Mad Chemist, Spell Omnivamp increase. I think this one was a little bit weaker than Blade Dance. Like the one that I think the most is Trolling. I think Trolling's the strongest. Then I think Blade Dance is like kind of almost there, but you need to high roll, which I think is fine. I like it when the hero augments are only good in certain spots, because I hate, like, you know, imagine somebody just hits Mad Chemist and you're playing a silver augment and you have like some bullshit no power silver augment, and then they just have a silver augment that just giga juices their whole board or your unit, so they instant carry. It's like the disparity of these silvers versus some of the other silvers just really annoying. So, you know, it is what it is. Mentorship, less HP. Yeah, mentorship was one of the go-to takes for silver, which is a lot of For what it was a lot of value for a silver. Survivor, this is the one where you have to like outlive 3 people and you get a bunch of gold. They're just gonna keep pumping this number up until it's broken, because like they pump it every single time. The problem is it's just a lot of risk. I hate this augment because it's like it feels like so stupid, because it's basically just like spinning a roulette wheel, right? It's like you don't know what's gonna happen later in the game. You don't know who's gonna high roll, who's gonna hit what units. But just to say, nah, I'll just outlive 3 people. It's like you don't know this, right? Whenever you take this, you're just trying to gamble away the entirety of a silver augment for the sake of like getting this big cash out. I don't know. It stresses me out. Like I see people take it in my lobbies and they usually die. But if anybody just high rolls into like a late game that's good and they actually can survive out 3 people and they get this up, because you're basically down a silver augment, right? If you take this, what you have to understand is that your board, even if you have the same board as somebody else, it's going to be inherently weaker because you're down an augment. You took an augment that's supposed to cash out gold in the future. So that's why it's like it doesn't make sense a lot of the time. You have to be really high roll to compensate for that. That's why I'm saying you can't plan around. It's not like, oh, I have a good opener, I'll be able to win out here. It's like, yes, but like everybody else is getting a silver augment to help their board. And if they hit something later and then you start losing, then what do? You're down a silver augment until people die, which is going to be like, you know, it could happen in stage 6. By the time it happens, the game's already over maybe, right? Or your game is over. That's what I mean. It's like, I don't like this augment fundamentally, and I wish it just didn't exist, but it is what it is. Table scraps re-enabled. Grants effect for the next 3 carousels. This is the one where after the carousel, you get an extra component / unit. I think this is really good early game and it falls off late game. I don't know how strong this is, but it might be really good with something like scrap. I took it before, like when it was enabled, I used to take it and I was trying to figure out if it was good or not. I don't have an opinion on it. I cannot tell because they removed it before I was able to figure out if it was good or not. So I don't know. I don't know if it was bugged. I don't even know why it was removed. So we'll see what happens. Next, gold augments. Chem Baron removed. Yes, that's fine. Glass Cannon 2. More damage amp. I think Glass Cannon is really good with certain comms, so I don't think this needed a buff. It already felt extremely strong. But basically it just gives damage amp for like your backline units and they lose HP. So it was really good with stuff like Sorks where they have a lot of flat AP. I don't know how I feel about this. I think it was already strong as is, but I don't know. Maybe people aren't playing it. Moonlight. This is the one where it upgrades 1 cost. It's, I don't know. This is only situationally good, so I don't really care about it ever. Team up Martial Law. Yeah, making Caitlyn do less damage. That's good. Reunion, Vi less damage. Sisters. They're buffing it again because it was bugged before, so this was the one that usually did the worst. By the way, if you're curious about all of these, these are the only augments you kind of have stats for because they get enabled when you look at the information, right? Because you could go on here. This is just a tip for you guys if you're trying to, like, you know, if you're hungry for some stats. On the traits, they'll appear on the traits because they're a trait. So you can use this to kind of figure out what the placement are of these particular things. See, like Reunion is one of the best ones. It averages like a 4. Martial Law averages like a 3.9. So these are the ones that are getting buffed, right? And Sisters is still one of the worst ones. So that's why it's getting buffed a little bit, right? Typically, average is 4.5. So these ones that are averaging well above 4.5 are like giga broken. But a lot of times it's because you're taking Martial Law when you're playing Enforcer. So it just instantly gives you a Caitlyn so you can win out. And Reunion is just so strong because Echo works really well. And you can just play a Vi with the Echo carry. And you can tempo it. And it's just a miserable time. Right? Vi also fits really well into the scrap board. So it just fits out like that. Training Arc. HP per win. They're increasing the HP. This is the Pit Fighter enabler. Trading Arc with like vertical Pit Fighter, like Vi, Draven reroll, or sorry, Violet Draven reroll might be really relevant now because if you get them scaling up early, they become real demons late game. Especially if you're playing a 1-cost reroll, you'll get a lot of HP. It'll be like an unkillable set of units. So this is a little bit scary, but we'll see if it plays out. I think Pit Fighter is still going to be locked towards reroll on the reroll side. I think whenever you play around the higher level Pit Fighters, it's hard to stabilize your board. Because you're basically relying on entirely Vi to be your damage dealer and your tank. So it's like a shittier version of Enforcers a lot of times is what it feels like. Trifecta, that seems like a big buff. I thought it got nerfed recently, so that's a bit strange to see. Then why not both? Making more stats. I think why not both is very strong. It's just hard to hit these units. That's when you play all form swappers. So it's like really hard to just like reroll and hit Swain 3, Gangplank 3. But if you can hit Swain 3, Gangplank 3, this is just busted. I think it's broken even if it's just hard to hit. So a lot of times if you take it, you don't hit and then you just lose out. Prismatics. All right. Let's see what we got here. Anger issues. Yep, that's because of Zeri mostly. So this augment is pretty much just only good on Zeri. So they're nerfing it, so it's very specific. I don't like this augment at all. I hate augments that only work with one comp, because what do you do if you're not playing that comp? You just have to roll it for free, right? Like imagine if you're playing Prismatic Ender, for example, or let's say it's Echo. It's all Prismatics, right? You just see anger issues. You have to roll it if you're not playing Zeri. There's nothing you can do. You can't pivot into a comp. It sucks on everybody, right? There's people that have been experimenting with it, and trust me, it doesn't work that well. Maybe something will come up in the future, but it's pretty shit. So now it's even more shit because of how strong Zeri is with it. And I hate stuff like that. I hate stuff like that. Belt overflow, 1 extra belt is pretty good, but less HP per belt. I don't know how I feel about this. This one's pretty good with like Garen. So like maybe now if Garen's a lot better, it might be like, you know, maybe that's why. Because Emissary got buffs. Chem Baron removed, sure. Exalted Adventure. Duplicators is now for 2 stages and rewards are reduced. Exalted Adventure is really strong, but sometimes the cash outs are pretty bad. So now it's going to be very risky. I wouldn't necessarily take this unless you think that you have a good spot for it. Because before you used to get infinite duplicators, which helped you to cap out your board and also helped you to hit. Now you're getting even less duplicators. And the biggest problem with this, by the way, the biggest problem with Exalted Adventure is what do you do if somebody is contesting you on that particular unit? There are times where I hit Exalted Adventure and somebody else is playing the same units that I'm playing. Like sometimes I have Exalted Adventure and my frontline unit is Rel. You know what I mean? It's like, well, I can't hit Rel ever because like half the lobby is holding on to Rel. So then it's like, okay, great. So now I have to make a board out of the other 2 units, and then you have some fuck ass, like one's like an AP unit and one's an AD unit, and they don't have any synergies with each other. And you're like, great, now I have to cook up a board while playing reroll, while not having resources, and then hope that my cash out is good. It's like, what? That's what I mean. That's why it's very risky. So I already didn't like it that much, and now it's getting nerfed. I would suggest to, like, you know, unless you have like a spot where you think like it's a reroll kind of game, right? Like you look around and you see a lot of other people are angling reroll, so you think you can hit for free. I wouldn't necessarily go towards this, right? Like unless you can find a niche line in between the other rerollers so that you guarantee the hitting. But like it's awkward. Glorious Evolution. This one sucked because as strong as Victor is, Victor was not good enough to warrant your entire Prismatic with a condition. So they're decreasing the condition here. I don't know if it'll still be good. I don't take it ever. Because I took it once and it was the dumbest shit I ever did. And I threw that game from like a potential first to like an 8th. And I'm pretty sure it's just because like the combat difference between Glorious Evolution and other combat Prismatics is just too massive. So it just doesn't work well. And you still have to do this upgrade crap, which takes too much time. So you don't even get the Victor up front. It's like, that's all I have to say about that. But I don't think it's that. I don't think this changes me deciding if I'm going to take it or not. Movable object. Making the increase a little bit less. That's fine. It's one of the most broken ones in the game. But a lot of this might just be because of scrap. This with scrap is like Giga went out. But it's good with most comps, melee comps. Pretty much anything but sentinels. Usually you take a movable object. But even sentinels, you get some extra value. So whatever. Lucky gloves. Turns for third glove is 7 now. I don't like this, but sure, whatever. I don't think Lucky Gloves never really felt that strong unless you like just high roll into a bunch of other gloves. So it's like as a Prismatic, it just feels like, you know, like a safe pick, but not like a good pick. But in general, like some of these getting nerfed is annoying in general because it's just like, what do you take? Pumping up, increase attack speed, sure. Spoils of War, increase the loot chance, I guess, but you can only take this in certain spots. I hate how the Prismatics are very specific. That's one of the biggest problems with like Prismatic Ender. It's like so many of these, like Trifecta, upgrade a 3 cost. It's like, what if you're not playing 3 costs on your board? Geniuses. What if you're don't have items or aren't playing specifically around these units, right? Spoils of War. What if you don't have a strong opener? Are you really taking this? Pumping up is generic. This one's good. You can take it and play with anything. But like, look, Belt Overflow. What if what if I'm not playing the thing? Anger issues. It's like it's only good on Zeri, and we're nerfing the augment now. It's like, is it really going to be good on anybody but Zeri? No. A movable object nerfed. Is that okay? It's like, it's like, what do you take? Like, if you're just playing like a regular ass board where you're not like committed to something in particular, it's either you hit the one thing that helps out your board, or you're stuck having to take an augment that's like severely nerfed. It just feels very like sway. That's what I feel. I wish there was a little bit more like, we'll see over time, obviously, but I think the Prismatics are, for me at least, the Prismatics feel the least balanced. It feels the hardest to play around because a lot of times you just get dropped a bunch of them and you're like, these all do nothing for my board. And then you look at somebody else's board and it's like, wow, they hit the Exodia comp, and it's like, great, like, you know, like, now what do I do? Anomalies. Let's go through anomalies. Center of the universe, less star damage. This was really good. A lot of times you just took center of the universe no matter what your comp was, just to do some extra damage on the board. It was actually substantial. So good change. I think it was like one of the most, like, you always took it. Infectious anomaly, less starting. I think that's also fine. I would have liked it that like they nerfed like the scaling a little bit more, because this just feels really bad, but I guess it fits with the trait, right? Diving in, sorry, I skipped that one. Less omnivab, that's fine. Diving in, a lot of times, it might be some stat. I didn't really like diving in that much, but for some comps it was really broken, so I can understand the nerf here. Like Urgot with diving in is like the most egregious thing ever. Infectious anomaly. So this is the one where it's like it starts bouncing between everybody and then they start scaling. So they decrease the starting AD and AP, which means that it's more towards scaling. Like it needs to scale more in order to make up for that nerf. I don't like it when the anomalies, like I guess it's like, it makes sense. Like this is supposed to be a scaling anomaly, so we're gonna make it scaling through and through. But I kind of liked it as just taking it for the base stats, and then like even if you don't scale it severely into late game, you still scale it to such a point where it's still valid to take it. Now it feels like your spot for it is going to be less good. Like you have to be more in a high roll spot in order to take it, to compensate for the fact that you need to use it to scale, if that makes sense. Last chance, less bonus AS. This was only good on certain comps, but I guess, sure, whatever. Titan at teamwork, 3-star count from 4 to 6. I don't know what this is. Actually, I don't know what it is. Touch of Frost, a higher stun duration. This one's starting to get a little bit more popular, I'm seeing, but you really need backline access on your units with this one. Vampiric Affinity, yep, some more Omnivamp. I felt like this one's a little bit weak because it was just like base Omnivamp. And then Ferocious Appetite, yeah, less scaling. This one I haven't seen in my games, but I saw on like watching other people's streams, and it's fucking ridiculous what you can do with that one. Alright, bugs. There's a couple bugs I had. Sorry, my playlist stopped. I'm gonna put it back on. Let's see if any of the bugs I saw or know about are here. Training dummies panel now is training dummies instead of target dummies. Sure. Just like whatever, right? Gifting a unit to your partner, double up. Okay, who cares? It's double up. 1,000 cuts no longer gains 2 stacks per hit. I didn't even know that happened, but sure. 1,000 cuts now works properly with another anomaly. Sure. Moonlight and Greater Moonlight now correctly allow units to combine at the start of the planning phase. I don't know what that is, but sure. 9 scrap no longer deletes spatulas and frying pans. I did not know about that. Killing Dragon using Center of the Universe now correctly drops an item. Sure. Center of the Universe now no longer kill units through revives. I know about this with Gold Collector executes and stuff, so I wonder if that's also fixed. Noxing Guillotine no longer kills units through the scribe. Flex Flippers revive and last stand now interact correctly. Okay, sure. I know about that one. I've seen it. Quality over quantity no longer stops working in combination with unstable treasure chest or no scout nor pivot. I don't know. Does that mean that unstable treasure chest is really good with this? I thought that was intentional, but maybe that's my bad. Or I don't know. Victor can no longer gain infinite AP with attacked expert anomaly. Sure. Item collector 2 now correctly gives 20 base. Wait, this didn't work properly? I felt like, I couldn't tell because I can't math well, but I took this augment a couple times, and every time I took it, I bought forward. And I thought that it was just a bad augment, so I kind of wrote it off as being bad. I didn't know it was bugged, so maybe I should just pay more attention. I have to double check these stats when I do them. That's what I learned right now, because I just like kind of made a mental note not to take this augment anymore. But that's just my bad. Fixed a bug where Team Up Genius's Echo was doing less damage than intended. Okay, that makes sense why it's so bad. Maybe Sign can no longer knock up through Quicksilver. Okay, say champion your partner and double up. Yeah, sure, whatever. Fixed a few where Caitlyn could miss and or fizzle parts of a spell. I had Caitlyn miss one time. I actually had Caitlyn miss one time. So yeah, like fuck that. Mel not correctly procs and double up. Okay, so I don't know if this matters, but you see these ones that are executes through revives. There's a bug. I think it's also with Gold Collector, right? Like Gold Collector and Finisher. It had the same problem, but it doesn't specify these ones. But it was the same interaction about the bug, so I don't know if this is fixed as well. There's also a bug that's not here. I don't know what it's called. Hive Mind. Is it fixed? I don't know if it's fixed or not. There was a hive mind bug where you only got the unit if you killed and you won the round. So it's like giga bad. That's why nobody takes it. And I don't know if they ever fixed it because I didn't see a B patch or anything. But it's not on the bug fix list, so that is what it is. But anyways, that is the patch review. Overall, patch, I'm going to say it's good. I think the changes are very small. I don't think there's going to be any major meta shifts. There might be a pit fighter line because the pit fighter buffs seem like a lot. But I think just reroll pit fighter is going to be a little bit more common. I don't think anything else is really going to shake up all that much. Scrap might be a little bit less popular because you can't stabilize around Echo, which was a huge stabilization point, or not as easily stabilize around Echo. And of course, there are additional changes that might happen because some of the patch changes aren't completely finalized, by the way. So make sure to double check your patch notes before you play the game, starting on either Wednesday or Thursday. But I'm so back. This actually makes me feel like playing TFT again, because I have basically for the last 2 weeks or so, I have been miserable, and I just play like 1 or 2 games of TFT a day, and I just don't want to play anymore. And I think that's fine. That's healthy if you find yourself in a spot like that. I decided to play Pokemon. I'm having a lot of fun on stream, just yapping and playing Pokemon and doing stupid stuff. So that's still going to stay on my streams, but now I feel a lot more invigorated to play like some more TFT because they fixed what I thought was the biggest problem with the set, which was the encounters. And if you don't agree, that's fine, but I don't really care. I'm just really happy. That's pretty much all I asked for the past like month and a half. I was like, yo, I would really like it if you guys just like fucking deleted Warwick, and they kind of did. So that's good. That's happy times for me. Thank God. All right. Thank you everybody for watching. Hope you have a great day, and make sure to like and subscribe, and also support More Dog. See you later. Bye bye.